Hi everyone, welcome back. It's Gina once again. This is number 83 to 86 of 100 days of using my prints. I can't believe I'm almost done. I never thought I would get through. These are my papers that I'm hopefully going to use today. I used a container to make a circle because my circles usually come out very wobbly. And I actually want like proper circles today, and I'm just cutting out some circle shapes using my prints. It was not my intention. I just was going to usually cut it up like I normally do, but for some reason I just started with a circle and my hands just kept making more and more circles. So what I learned while doing this exercise was if I fold the paper a certain way, I would be able to cut a half a circle and get like a gazillion circles. It's so cool. I love it. It reminded me of when you fold paper in school and then you cut like different random shapes and then you open it out and you get your surprise. Yeah, that's what this reminded me of. So I cut out my circles. I pulled out. Today I'm using mainly green and brown. And I'm using my compass. I'm using my compass to make some circles. Again, this wasn't really the plan, but I just thought I would like to make some circles on my page because you know why? I wanted to make some marks. I wanted to make some marks on my page, and I was going to use my charcoal pencil. And then I thought, let me just use the protractor, the compass. I always mix those two up. I'm so sorry. I thought I could use that to make the marks instead of just the random marks since I was doing circles. So this is my China marker. I pulled off too much of the paper and I was just praying that it didn't break because it's a long piece that's exposed. So I'm just using that since it's not water soluble. I discovered that a couple times ago when I used it. I was like, hey, it's like waterproof. Very cool. And when I was doing it, I thought how cool it would be if I used a different color on the other two. So I used a brown marker to do those other pieces of the circle. This marker is a Pilot marker. It's actually like it has liquid. It's cartridge type. It has liquid ink inside, and it says Super Color Bullet Medium V Pilot. I really like it, and it's refillable. You could get the refills, but where I live, which is Trinidad, it's hard to get. So now I'm just adding paint. Usually when I'm stuck or I'm thinking, trying to figure out what's the next step, I just add paint randomly to my page. So I'm thinking this is my background. This is a tan color. It's called Natural Beige. And I'm also adding grasshopper green. And this is just my background because the thing is, I want to add my prints, yes, but I also want to leave some white space. And when I leave my white space, I would like to see parts of the background, and I also want to see white. So that's the plan. So these are my shapes that I cut out, and I'm just going to basically try to put them all over my page. I realized the problem for me was that I seemed to be afraid for whatever reason to put the circles, to put my pieces to overlap to overlap the tape. I don't know why. All of the pieces that I put down, I try to fit it within the space, the rectangles. And I think that was part of my problem because I had difficulty putting things down and feeling good about it really and truly. That these four were very difficult. But I really did enjoy certain parts. I enjoyed that I used circles. I enjoyed that the type of marks that I made. So, there were certain things I enjoyed, but I think for me it got kind of it made it difficult for me when I tried to fit all my circles with it on the inside instead of having it overlap. I don't know why I did that, but that's what happened. And then obviously, one decision, it forces you to make another decision, which forces you to make another decision. Whereas if you had made a different decision, then the next decision would have probably been a different one. Yeah. So I'm just going to fiddle around trying to stick things down. I'm also, again, trying not to think too much. So I laid out just a couple pieces to see how things would look where I'm starting. And then when I found things were getting kind of complicated for me in my mind, I just started to stick things down, because then I would have spent too much time trying to work things out and figuring out what could fit, and if I should put this here, and this is not good. And yeah, so once I stuck it down, I had no choice but to move on and make another decision. So that's why I try to just do this, Gina, and move on. Otherwise, I would spend too much time still deciding on that first piece. And then I have these pieces. I painted the page black, and then I had a big brush and I just put those lighter marks on it. I need to make some more like that. I like that page a lot. I think part of the problem for me also was that I didn't have a lighter shade of brown in the mix, and I wanted it, but I didn't want to take the time to look for it, number one, or to make it. I'm just using what I have. And I believe that I did have a lighter brown sheet or two in my folder. As I said, I didn't want to stop and look for it and dig up, because it takes time. So I just made do with what I had already pulled out from before, and I'm just adding my pieces as I go along. I think maybe I wouldn't mind trying these circle pieces on a bigger piece. Probably if I divided this same sheet in half instead. And I was thinking of doing that, I was thinking of just dividing it in half today, but then I was like, ooh, nah, that's too big. I think I'll get stuck. So I just continued with dividing it in 4, but I think when I'm going to try this circle shape thing again, I will divide it in half, so I'll have bigger pieces, and I think I'll have more options, for me personally anyway. And also, I will not hesitate to overlap my circles so that I will also have more options, different options, not more, but different options. So those are 2 things I will definitely work on in my next session with circles. So this lovely piece of paper is tissue paper napkin. It's a paper napkin. And when I said tissue, I mean the tissue you pull out from the box to wipe your nose. That's what I meant. So this is napkin. I was very bored. Someday I went to visit my sister and we were just chatting, and the napkin was there, and I just started to cut circles out of them, and I was like, hey, this is really cool. Maybe I should use this for my art, because everything is for art, right? So I just cut out some more and I kept them. And then when I was walking by today to look for materials, which is kind of what I do, I don't know if any of y'all do that, but when you're walking around, you kind of just scan the area. No matter where you are, I usually do that. So when I'm I go into the grocery, once I'm walking somewhere, my eyes tend to scan the area to see what I could use for art. It's very interesting. And it's fun because sometimes you find some really cool stuff. So my eye scanned the area on my way to my room to do my art, and I saw the tissues, and I was like, hey, I remember I have this. I think I'll use them today. And here they are. And again, I think for the next one, it gives it a really nice texture, by the way. For the next one, I think I will probably add color to it differently, because this, how it was used, is not how I intended it for it to be used. I actually had an idea in mind when I did it, but when I used this here, this is not how I intended to use it. So maybe next time I'll use it how I intended to, and we'll see how it goes. You know, things happen, right? One decision leads to the next. Looking at that circle, that piece that I'm working on now, I could have left it as is, because there are 3 squares from the top left coming down, or from the bottom right going up, depending on how you look at it. And I think that looks pretty cool. I could probably have highlighted it so that it would have shown up a little more, but I really like how that looks. And I could have and should have stopped there. But you know, as artists, we learn to stop when we're supposed to stop, and sometimes it just doesn't happen. So these, as I said, these 4 pieces gave me a lot of trouble. And I keep trying to put this piece in because I love it so much. But for some reason, it just didn't feel right. Throughout the entire process, I just kept trying to put it in somewhere to fit it in. But it just didn't feel right. I have this black sheet with the bigger marks. I really love this sheet so much, but for some reason they never seem to fit anywhere in any of the pieces I'm doing. But in this one, I was very determined to use it, so I just cut them out individually instead, and I decided to add them in because of the black that's on the other piece, and it just felt lonely. So I'm just adding it in to try to balance off those parts that just has those little bits of black in it. When I was scanning the area again, I saw these sponges that I had that I never used. And I thought, since I'm doing circles, maybe I could use these on 1 or 2 of my pieces. So I just dabbed some paint on the bottom of my sponge, and then I gently dabbed it onto my card. And then I had this scraper thing, which came in a set with the same sponge circle with those. And I thought, maybe this might make some cool marks. So I did that, and it was cool, but it didn't feel like it fit on the card. So I'm just using my circle dauber and making those cute little circles. And they kind of, because the ends of it are not defined, they kind of feather out on its own. So it's kind of really cool. So at this point, I was a bit frustrated and a bit lost. So I just took some paint on my finger and I'm adding some paint to push some things back because I was beginning to feel frustrated and a bit lost with these, and it took a lot of time. It took me over an hour to do these because I was just really confused and I didn't know what to do. So I'm pushing things back, and as we know, one decision leads to the next. So I'm pushing it back so that I could look at it differently, and hopefully make a good decision on the next step. And while that's drying, I moved on to another one of the other squares so that I could give my eye a rest on those and hopefully look at it with fresh eyes. So I just pulled out my huge, actually it's not huge, it's a 5 to 10 millimeter acrylic marker, permanent. See, I just opened it. I just love how it looks when the ink is running down for the first time. It's just so cool. It's called Edding. I've never ever heard of it in my life. EDDING, and it says canvas and paper. So I guess we could use it only on canvas and paper, but I'm sure we could find other places to use it too, like wood and maybe even metal, I don't know. Plastic for sure. It says Edding 5000. I find it so cool. I actually wanted the bigger one. There's a really wide one, but I will have to keep looking. So I'm just making some quick marks. That mark reminded me of a person with their hands up. I didn't particularly like it. Or a river or something. I did not particularly like it. I don't know, this one gave me real trouble, boy. This one in particular. Well, all of them did, but so I'm looking in my little shape box. These are the pre-shapes that I cut out so that I could just pull from them and not have to worry about, cutting freshly, which is really cool. And I'm just trying to add some black to kind of block off some of those areas. With these, how I'm adding the shapes is I'm actually trying to connect the lines for some of them. So I'm trying to connect the black to the black so it would look uniformed and there would be some type of continuity. And it would seem as if, that was the plan. Like the black has to go here, which leads to there, and, So I'm just trying to connect. And then where I didn't find it connected enough, I just took the marker and I lightly followed some of the lines that I saw on the page itself to make my own. And remember, I didn't like this black shape originally. So I'm just adding some more. And I just spread that with my finger because that is where I put the napkin and I wanted to show the texture. So I did that on this side as well. But I didn't find it was enough, so I kept adding more of the paint from the marker and then spreading it even more. So just lightly rubbing my finger over it so you could actually see the texture of the tissue paper, the paper towel. Oh, yeah. So it was at this very late stage that I decided to start overlapping my shapes. The very late stage. Here I'm really fed up. I don't know what to do. I'm really fed up. So now I decided it's time to take my tape off because otherwise I would have just kept adding. So I wanted to see what it looked like individually and hopefully leave it as is, but I didn't think I was going to. So I'm just taking off my tape and I'm going to eyeball it, measure the center of those spaces, draw my line to hopefully get it straight. At least that will be straight. And then I'm going to cut my pieces into 4 so that I could look at them singularly and then decide if I want to add anything or not. I'm also turning them at different angles to see which way looks best for me. And these pieces, it still looks like a person, you know, with their hands and their legs splayed. Some of these pieces were so difficult. So I didn't like how that looked, and I didn't like what I saw. So I added some black in the middle there. Although that could just be the body. And then the person is just wearing clothes now, right? But yeah, I just added that in the middle there. And I still didn't like it. I really didn't like this piece at all. I really did not. But I thought filling in that area would help. It kind of did help a little bit for me. But I didn't want so much black on my card. But it kind of helped a little bit. So I dried it, and due to frustration, I just added some paint to that area instead. After I just added the black, I just added some paint over it to push it back a bit. And then I was hoping it would give me an idea of what to do next. And I'm still trying to figure out what to do. So I decided to add some more square/circle shapes, because the inside is a circle, but outside is a square. So there's square circle shapes. And I thought that adding these shapes would help. This was very difficult. So as you're watching this, I mean, if you looked at it straight through to the end, let me know which ones you prefer, if any. Which one was your least favorite and which one was, you know, you liked the most. If you didn't like any, you know, just share. Let me know what you think, what you thought I could have done instead. Where I should have stopped, because I know with some of them, if not all, I could have stopped several places. Because it's just so much stuff happening. So I would love to hear your thoughts. So when I thought I was done, I went digging around again because I wasn't pleased with what I had. And then I found these pre-cut out shapes of a lighter color. Remember, I needed a lighter color. So I found these and I thought that it enhanced the page in my eyes. So I added it to the page and then I didn't find it was enough again. But I'm going to add them and then look at it and see. So now I'm looking at all of them individually to see if there's anything I want to add to them or if I'm just going to leave them. This one I didn't like either. I think those marks in the background turned me off. So this one I left it and then I added these black marks around them. I don't know which is better. I think this one is my favorite. Yep. This one I do not like. I added those black marks on top and then the green marks on top. This one not too bad. I'm looking at it at different angles just to see which one I think is best. But these two are my favorites. Thank you for watching. Bye.